ended up having, Jimmy Garvin would be a Hall of Famer, but the managers would go on to have more illustrious careers, in my opinion. Johnny B. Bad would pick up the win over Jimmy Garvin in a nice little 8-minute match. After this, we got Steve Austin, stunning Steve Austin, as he was known in WWE before he would go on to become Stone Cold Steve Austin, versus Dustin Rhodes for the WCW World Television Championship. There would be no winner's match as the time limit would expire at 15 minutes. After this, we got a singles match where Billy Kismer defeated Oz by submission in a 3-minute, 59-second match. By the way, Oz is now known as Diesel Kevin Nash. This would be one of his failed gimmicks and the reason he would leave WCW in the first place before going back to it and forming the Outsiders. He would be Oz, and then he would go to WWE and become Diesel Kevin Nash and win the WWE Championship. They were clearly not using him right here. After this, we got Van Hammer versus Doug Sommers in a very quick 1-minute, 13-second match. Nothing really to remember from this match. And then we got Flying Brian Pillman versus Richard Morton for the WCW Light Heavyweight Championship, in which Flying Brian would win the title. There would have been a tournament. Brian Pillman would have won the tournament and would become the inaugural light heavyweight champion. After this, the Halloween Phantom defeated Tom Zach in a 1-minute, 27-second match. The Halloween Phantom would later be revealed as Ravishing Rick Rude. Rick Rude would debut back in WCW under his new manager, Paul E. Dangerously, now known today as Mr. Paul Heyman. We then got a tag team match for the WCW Tag Team Champions, where the Enforcers would defend their championships against the Patriots. The Enforcers, Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko, versus Todd Champion and Firebreaker Chip in a 9-minute match. The Enforcers would win this match. And finally, in your main event for this show, a 2 out of 3 falls match, a very good 2 out of 3 falls match, which Harley Race and Lex would manage Lex Luger, and Ron Simmons would be managed by Dusty Rhodes. Lex Luger would pick up the win, and this would lead to his feud with Big Van Vader, where Big Van Vader would win the title. And that is your 1991 Halloween Havoc review. Ladies and gentlemen, now it is time to move on. What happened to? You need a drink before this one, ladies and gentlemen. This guy had the world at his fingertips, was ready to take on everything, take on anyone, and he was amazing for his time. He could move like no one could at his size, but it would also come back to bite him, as he would be called stiff. And was it backstage politics or his own actions that would cause him to basically be run out of the wrestling industry altogether? That's for you to decide. This is what happened to the man known as Vader, aka Leon Allen White. Leon Allen White was born in Linwood, California. He would then move to Colorado, where he would attend the University of Colorado as a football player. He was an All-American, would have a great football career, and would actually be drafted by the Los Angeles Rams in the 3rd round, but unfortunately his career fizzled out from there. And he would basically decide to go into professional wrestling. He was spotted in a gym actually by a couple people who remembered him from his football career. He was trained by Brian Regans and would go into the AWA under the name Brady Bull. He would then change his name to Bull Power, and he would actually have a match versus Stan Hansen for the AWA Heavyweight Championship. He would lose and would go on to Catch Wrestling Association, where he would still use the name Bull Power. He would have some great matches there, and that would actually send him over to Japan, where he would go into New Japan Pro Wrestling, where his name would be changed to Big Van Vader. And that was the first time he would ever have that name. He would have great matches in Japan, whether it was IWGP, New Japan. He would have unbelievable matches. And then, actually, if you think you're a tough guy listening to this, listen to this. In a match, I can't remember who it was against, Vader would lose his eye. His eye would fall out of his fucking socket, and he would push it back into place and continue wrestling the match. I don't care how tough you are. I stub my toe and I'm thinking I'm done for the day. That is a tough man. Mick Foley, he would also rip off part of Mick Foley's ear during a match. Mick Foley would not blame him for this, and in his 20 Years to Hell documentary, he would actually say Vader was one of his favorite wrestlers, one of his favorite competitors, and one of the toughest people to ever wrestle. Vader would then go to Universal Wrestling Association. He would have some okay matches there, and would finally get signed to a major deal from WCW, where he would have some amazing matches versus Cactus Jack. He would have the unfortunate Halloween Havoc Chamber of Horrors match, but they must have saw something very well in him, because he would then get pushed in the main event title scene, and he would win the World Heavyweight Championship from Sting, and would have some great matches versus him. He would continue to feud with everyone going into WCW for a long time. He would even get the run as United States Championship, but would then join the Dungeon of Doom to help put over Hulk Hogan. Hogan would then basically beat Vader at Bash at the Beach, which was actually on an episode of Baywatch, if you could believe that. He would then leave WCW, go tour around a little before ending up in WWF, and this is where his career starts to go downhill. He was supposed to be in the main event picture scene first versus The Undertaker, and a little situation in Kuwait where they were being interviewed for a television show, and the host asked them, "Is wrestling fake?" And while The Undertaker would give the political answer of no, it's just predetermined, and we're actually very good athletes, Vader would get pissed and would actually grab the tie and slap the host, asking, "Is that fake?" He would be arrested for assault, and that would kill his first push. He would then feud with Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam for the WWF World Heavyweight title. He would then be called strong, stiff, and he was, and people would complain about his odor. Shawn Michaels would later attest that he was unprofessional and caused Vader's push to be ended right then and there. Vader would then use backstage politics, and would actually, people didn't like him. They said he was very angry, very mean backstage. He would unfortunately be pushed down the card and would try to have a match with Yokozuna at WrestleMania 14, but Yokozuna was not in any shape. It would be made a tag team match. And eventually, Vader would be released. He would go back to All Japan, and he would have a couple great matches there. He would go to Pro Wrestling Noah, where he would compete till 2003. He would go to Total Nonstop Action, where he would wrestle in 2015 as well. But that would basically be the end of his wrestling career. He would make sporadic appearances for WWE, including being put into the 2016 Hall of Fame. Or 2018, this was a post-mortem entry. He would induct Stan Hansen into the WWE Hall of Fame. He would go on the independent circuit until his passing in 2018. He would be put in the Hall of Fame, but it would just be a post-mortem. He never got to give a speech for WWE's Hall of Fame. Vader. A life where everyone thought he had so much talent, but backstage politics and unfortunately his own stiff working. For those of you who don't know what stiff means, that means when you would actually wrestle, he would make contact and would actually hurt people in the ring. Shawn Michaels would complain about this. The Undertaker would complain. A lot of people would come forward about this. One of the greatest to ever do it, but also one person who destroyed his own career with backstage politics and his own stiff working. A sad story, but a great story. Rest in peace to Big Van Vader, Leon White. And that is what happened to Vader. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's get off of the sad and get on to WWE Drink of the Week. This week, I'm sticking with my James Bond theme from last week where I did the Vesper, and I'm giving you a very easy drink to make and one of my favorites. A vodka martini, shaken not stirred. It's very easy to make. All you need is a cocktail shaker, some vodka, some dry vermouth, some ice, and some olives if you want olives in your drink. First, you pour 4 ounces of vodka into the shaker, then a half an ounce of dry vermouth, or an ounce, depending on how much you like vermouth, into the shaker. Shake it up real good. Give it a great shake because the ice will actually dilute the vodka and will make this drink easier to drink. You pour this into a chilled martini glass, which you can easily do by just putting water and ice in the martini glass and just letting it sit there for a few minutes. And then you add 3 olives. People add olive juice while they're shaking it to the martini to give it more olive flavor. I hate olives, so I don't put olives in the drink at all. But you can put 3 olives in there for garnish, and there you have it, a vodka martini, shaken, not stirred. And that is your WWE Drink of the Week. And now, ladies and gentlemen, a reading from the Book of Rules. Custom titles, provided they have the means and the skills to protect it, a superstar can create their own custom championship. A reading from the Book of Rules. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Battle Droid of the Week. This week is very easy for me to decide this. Your Battle Droid of the Week is the WWE Creative Team. Let's start off with Strike 1. Splitting the New Day. Who the fuck thought this was a good idea? You just got back together. You could have had a great Survivor Series versus the New Day versus the Bloodline. That would have been amazing to see. Have the New Day win the Raw Tag Team Championships. The Bloodline hold on to the SmackDown. Big E holds on to the WWE Championship. And Roman Reigns holds on to Universal. And then you have a very good Survivor Series. But now you blew it. Strike 2. Not drafting one of your most over superstars during Raw or SmackDown in Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan should have been picked by either Raw or SmackDown. Should have gone to either brand. It doesn't matter. But she is over. People are calling for her to win the Royal Rumble. Help main event Wrestlemania 38. But you guys blew that as well. Number 3. Strike 3 for this week, ladies and gentlemen. The SmackDown and Raw finishes for this week to 2 great main events. You had one end in DQ, one end in a funny finish. Why? And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, WWE Creative Team, you are the Battle Droid of the Week. Congratulations.
Uh-oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. I have been the Big Guy. This is episode 22. I didn't think I'd make it this far. I'm really enjoying this. Hopefully this will go up on my new YouTube channel, Wrestling Made Simple, as well, as I'm learning how to upload podcasts to YouTube. This is just an audio podcast. I do not do video, but I will try and find a way to get it up there. If not, episode 23 will go up, but hopefully this is the first one on my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed wrestling this week. Have a great day.